Welcome to the TriStar Podcast, where martial arts meets family, faith, and personal growth. Join Professor Brumitt and Professor Chris Beane as they share stories from the mat, lessons from life, and tools to help you and your family live like black belts on and off the mat. It's time to train the body, sharpen the mind, and strengthen the spirit right here on the TriStar Podcast. Hey, have you ever noticed how two kids, really can face the exact same setback, and one of them, well, they shake it off while the other one actually spirals? Same situation, same loss, but a totally different response. And if you're a parent, and that can be kind of confusing. So if you're thinking, why is my kid taking this so hard, or even, am I doing something wrong? Here's the good news. The good news is resiliency, being resilient isn't a personality trait that your child either has or doesn't have. It's really a skill, and a skill, as we know, can be trained. And that's what we do at the studio every day.
Welcome to the TriStar Podcast. I'm Professor Beane.
And I'm Professor Brumitt. And today we are going to talk about resiliency and, how it can help your kids bounce back, if you will, from failure without getting stuck in shame, negativity, or even, the dreaded "I quit."
By the end of this episode, you'll have a simple, repeatable way to respond to your child, if all else fails, whether you're in school, in sports, friendships, or at the studio. We're going to give you a practical tool to help you to refine failure and how to build a growth mindset, how to set some small goals, how to challenge or change the inner self-talk that everybody has, how to build a support system around your kids.
Yeah, and we're calling this the next rep approach because resiliency is built really the same way a skill is built. It's built one rep at a time.
And parents, just to set the expectations, this isn't about turning your kid into a robot who never cries. It's about helping them feel disappointment and still be able to move forward after that.
Exactly, because big feelings are actually normal, and the goal is to really build recovery, I would say. So first off, let's kind of define resilience. In plain language, if you will. So resilience is the ability, I would say, to, take a hit, whether it's emotional, mental, social, and then still be able to move forward. Not because it didn't hurt, because it did, but really because, you didn't let it to define you. And it's not pretending that you don't care. And it's not even, the whole toughen it up type mentality. It's not stuffing your emotions down either. It's a feeling of disappointment, yes, but then it's choosing the right next step.
In the studio, resilience looks like missing a technique, getting corrected, maybe feeling a bit embarrassed for a second, and then trying it again. At home, resilience looks like your child getting that low grade, not making the team, or getting left out at recess. Instead of spiraling into "I'm dumb" or "nobody likes me," they learn to say, "Okay, what's my next rep?"
And parents, here's what makes this, I think, so important is your response. So your response in the moment can either build that resilience that we're looking for, or accidentally train your child to fear failure. So we're going to give you some, simple help on making sure that, you can and know how to reframe from that.
So here it is, 5 steps that you can use to face almost any setback. Step number 1, name what happened. Step number 2, normalize it. Step number 3, narrow down to one thing that you can do to improve. Step number 4 is to choose the next rep, one small action. Step number 5, notice progress and effort, not just the outcome.
Yeah, and the reason that this works is because it gives your child a path. Failure, feels like a dead end, but what this does is this turns it into a detour.
Also, it keeps you from doing what parents naturally do, which is either rescuing or lecturing.
Yeah, and we don't want to do that. So, we're going to walk you through this loop, if you will, that will that has a real framework, if you will. And so, and also we're going to have some real situations that we're going to walk you through too, because, I think that helps us to, remember and understand a little bit better. So let's start with, what we see a lot at the studio, and, it's kids lose a match, maybe in their sparring match, or maybe it's in wrestling or in soccer. They come off the mat or the field crushed. They have tears. They're angry, and they are saying, "I'm never going to do this again." And parents, of course it's your instinct to, usually do one of two things. It's either to try to fix it, by saying it's okay, and even maybe agreeing with them, saying you were robbed, right? Or you try to shut it down or get them to shut it off. Say, stop crying. It's not a big deal. And both of those, I think, are actually, missing the moment.
And really, here's what the next loop or the next rep loop sounds like in real life. You name it. You lost that match. Normalize it. That happens to everyone. Everyone loses sometimes, even the best. Narrow it down. What is one thing that you want to get better at for next time?
Right.
The next rep. Cool. This week, we're going to start working on this thing that practices so that you can get to that next step. And then next is to notice progress. I saw you keep trying even when you were tired, and that is a win.
And, look, when you're teaching them it's huge, because losing really is just information. It's not identity.
All right, so we're going to move into kind of the next part. And the next part would be like a bad grade spiral, right? So this is like scene 2, if you want to think about it like that. And it's sneaky because it hits their confidence. Your child brings home a test with a low score and says that, the words that every parent hates to hear. I'm stupid. Parents, don't argue with the feeling, right? Don't just say, no, you're not, and move on.
Right. Use the loop, right? So, kind of what you talked about when you introduced it. Number one, name it. Maybe naming it is that score is lower than you wanted. And then normalize it. It happens when, something is new or something is hard. It doesn't mean that you can't learn it. And then narrow it means, hey, look, ask the question, what was the hardest part? And then next rep it. So, okay, 10 minutes a day, we're going to work on that one part. That's the hardest part for you. Not an hour, but just 10 minutes. And then lastly, notice the progress. So by saying like, hey, look, I saw that you sat down instead of, avoiding doing that practice that you needed to do, you sat down. And that's real courage.
And here's a phrase that changes everything for kids. Not yet. I can do is yet. Not yet. I can't do this yet. The one word that keeps the door open is yet, right? That's the key thing. Like, yet, right? You can do this. It's just not yet. It's going to be in the future. That yet implies a future progress, and it keeps the door open to the next step.
Well, it reminds me of like Zig Ziglar, because Zig Ziglar would say, if there's hope in the future, then there's power in the present. And with that word yet, it gives you that hope in the future. So now you actually have the power in the present. Without that word yet, you don't have the hope in the future. So then therefore you feel powerless in the present. And then, okay, so let's do another scene, if you will, the friendship rejection scene. So scene 3 is, all about friendship, and the kids feel like it's the end of the world because maybe, your child was left out. And they're not invited, or a friend says something mean to them, and they go, nobody likes me. And parents, that's not a fact. I mean, really, that's a story. That happens to every single kid at some point, and that story actually feels real.
So validate it. Validate the emotion, not the conclusion. Name it, right? The hurt. You feel left out. Normalize it. This happens sometimes. It's a part of learning. It's part of friendships. Narrow it. What do you do next? What's the next rep? Right? Let's practice one sentence that you're going to try to say. Notice the progress. You told me what happened instead of holding it in, and that is strong.
And look, parents, sometimes the next rep isn't fixing the friendship. Sometimes it's learning how to handle the feelings without it actually defining you. And let's add a couple more here because these I think come up consistently. So what about the I quit? After getting corrected even.
This happens in all sports, in schools, and even at the studio. The kids, they try something new. They get corrected and immediately goes, I'm done. I quit. I'm out.
Yeah, and usually parents, that's not rebellion. For them, it's protection, right? Quitting is a way of them to really avoid maybe feeling embarrassed again.
So the loop here starts with naming what's really happening, right? Name it. You got corrected, and that felt embarrassing. Normalize it. That's normal. Everyone gets corrected when they're learning. Narrow it down. What is one small part that you can work on? What's the next rep? Let's do it for just 2 minutes. Just 2 minutes. Notice the progress. You stayed with it even though you felt uncomfortable, and that shows resilience.
Yeah, and parents, the key phrase here is, we don't quit on a hard day. Not, you can't, not that you can't ever quit. It's just that we don't quit on a hard day. And, here's another one, if you will. So your kid freezes. They know, look, they know it at home and they know it in the living room, but it's a whole nother thing to do it in front of other people, maybe at school, at a game, or at maybe at testing at karate, and they lock up.
And of course, parents often think that, they're not trying, but a lot of times it's anxiety. It's their brain going into threat mode, that fight or flight kind of response.
Yeah. So here's the next rep. Name it. Your body gets nervous, and then normalize it. Say, that happens. And, sometimes, it happens to everybody at some point. So normalize it. Next one, narrow it down. What's one thing that you can do, when you actually feel nervous? And then next rep it. So, we're going to practice whatever that one thing is. Maybe maybe you need to breathe in 4 times and then out for 6 times, like whatever that small little rep is that's going to help you not be as nervous. And then look, parents, notice the progress. So maybe you go, hey, you showed up, you stepped out on the floor. Like, that was brave.
And parents, you can teach them this, right? Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing the next thing while you feel whatever that fear might be.
Yeah. And look, let's kind of talk about reframing, because this is where parents either, I think, build confidence or they accidentally, and I mean this, they accidentally build fear. Here's the reframe in one sentence, if you will. Failure is not a verdict, it's feedback. Or like even, Zig Ziglar, failure is an event. It's not a person. Yesterday ended last night and today's a brand new day. But shortening it, failure is not a verdict, it's feedback.
And of course, when you teach that with your words, try this 3-part script after a setback. I'm proud of you for trying. What did we learn? And then the last one is, what is the next rep? Notice what's missing, right? There's no shame. There's no panic. No, you better do that again. It's calming leadership.
Yeah. And look, kids borrow that calm. They don't magically create it, and you have to set the tone.
Right. So let's hit a section that I think will save a lot of families. Here are a few common parent traps, things that are totally understandable, but they accidentally teach kids to fear failure.
Yeah. So trap number one is rescuing. That's when your kids struggle, and then you immediately jump in to fix it or smooth it over, or you talk to the coach, or you talk to the teacher, to try to make the problem go away.
The replacement phrase is, I'm here with you. What is the next rep?
And then trap number two is minimizing. Um, it's saying like it's not a big deal. You're fine. Stop crying.
And the replacement phrase here is, it makes sense that you feel that way. Let's take a breath and then we'll pick the next step.
And then trap number three is lecturing in the moment. Parents, when your kid is flooded with emotions, they can't hear your life lessons.
And the replacement phrase here, we'll talk about this later. Right now, let's get calm and cool down so that we can take the next rep.
And then trap number four is the comparison trap. So, your brother never does this. Other kids aren't crying.
Again, the replacement phrase here is, you're going to train and you'll recover from this.
And then trap number five is actually labeling. So you're a quitter, you're lazy, you're stupid, you're dramatic.
The replacement phrase for this one is, you're having a hard moment, and that's different than who you are.
And look, parents, labels stick, but training actually sticks too. So I would just encourage you to choose training.
So let's talk about a growth mindset here for a minute, right? Growth mindset is a fancy phrase for a simple belief that I can get better. Not I am the best, not I am talented, just I can improve with practice.
Yeah, and in the studio, look, we see this all the time. So kids are struggling with a form, they freeze during sparring, or even they fail a stripe test. The question becomes, do they quit or do they train?
And parents, you can reinforce this growth mindset by phrasing the right thing: effort, strategy, persistence, and not just the results. So instead of "you're so smart," try "I like how you kept working even when this was tough. I like how you asked for help. I like how you tried a new strategy." That teaches them success and really what success is made of.
Yeah, and here's a quick upgrade, if you will. Praise the progress, and then point to the next rep. I'm proud of you for the effort. And then point to the next rep. So what's one thing that we're going to do tomorrow to make this even better? Now, let's get super practical, because a lot of parents go, okay, this is all well and good, but what do I do? What do I do on Tuesday, right? So here's a simple tool that you can use. It's the 7-day next rep chart. So just pick one area, whether it's school, sport, friendships, even the studio. Pick one skill then, and then pick one daily rep. It could be something as small as doing it for 2 to 10 minutes, and then track it every 7 days, or track it for 7 days.
Let's do some examples here, right? Read for 8 minutes after dinner. Do 5 flashcards a day. Practice your front kick chamber 10 times. And as a side note, if you're doing those practice cards, they're kind of already designed like that. Moving on,
Right.
Raise your hand 1 time in class. Small goals will help to build momentum, and they build the identity. Your children, your kids start to see themselves as somebody who is able to follow through.
Yeah, and look, when they miss a day, because they will, resilience is simply returning back to that structure. It's not restarting perfectly. It's just returning.
Parents, listen, I want to give you a few quick tools that you can use immediately. Tool number one is the reset breath. Inhale for 4. So you count to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you exhale for 6. So for a 6 count. You do that 3 times. Then you ask, what is the next step? And the kind of the mental, the psychological side that's going on there, when you're frustrated, when you're worried, when you're mad, your inhale and exhale kind of shifts, right? Your exhale is short and your inhale is kind of long, and that puts you in that kind of mean or upset or frustrated type of mindset. And you could be put in that mindset just by breathing in that way or standing or putting that look on your face. The flip side is also true. So when your inhale is a little bit shorter and you have a longer exhale, that does a lot sociological and mentally to kind of cool your body down so that you can focus on whatever that next rep might be.
Yeah, and that's a great tool. The second tool is win, learn, next. So at dinner, in the car, before bed, ask your kid, what was a win today? What did you learn today? And then what's the next rep tomorrow?
Okay, so tool number 3 is a 2-minute rep. When your kid is overwhelmed, don't ask for an hour, just ask for 2 minutes. Let's do 2 minutes, then we can stop. Most of the time, once you start doing whatever the thing is, after 2 minutes, it's very easy just to keep going. But 2 minutes, make that 2 minute is the intro goal.
And parents, that is the life skill. The life skill is starting. Like starting is a skill.
Your kid is already talking to themselves. The question is whether they're building themselves up or they're tearing themselves down. For kids, keeping self-talk simple and believable, and of course, connected to action is the key.
Yeah. So like, instead of I'm amazing, try, I can try again, or I'm getting better. I can do hard things. I mean, the parents that are at the studio, that's why we have our I am statements, and we have that coincide. The I am statement coincides with the word of the month, which coincides with the Matt chats of the month, because that inner voice, that self-talk is so, so important. And parents, model it out loud in normal life for yourself. So like, say, that was frustrating, and I'm going to try it a different way, or I made a mistake and I can fix it. You model that.
And if your kids say, I can't, right? I can't, right? That phrase, that's like it's like nails on a chalkboard. You hear I can't, you can respond with you can't yet. What is the next rep?
Yeah. And again, with that word yet, that gives you hope in the future. So therefore it gives you that power in the present. So let me share, if you would, a studio. We're not going to put any name or a story, but we're not going to put any names to this person because anyways, we had 2 kids doing great in class until it was time for the stripe test. And the moment that they made a mistake, you could see you could actually see it on their faces. Their shoulders dropped, their eyes got watery. They started doing things that kids do when they, really try or want to disappear. And
parents, it's important to know that look, right? So you can see that look, what we're talking about.
So, look, instead of us, piling on the corrections, we slowed it down. We named it, meaning like, that felt frustrating. And then we normalized it. Look, it's a part of learning. And then we narrowed it. Look, let's pick one piece. And then we did small reps, just one section. And then again, we noticed the progress. So we praised it and we just said, hey, look, you stayed with it.
And what happened?
Well, the kids, didn't magically become perfect, of course, but they did recover fast. And then, the neatest thing was the next time that they made a mistake, they didn't melt down as long. There was a slight meltdown, but they didn't melt down as long. And really, to me, that's a win. So parents, resilience isn't one big, heroic moment. It really is these, it's the shortening of the recovery time. That's resiliency. And so resilience is personal, but it's not solo, and kids need a team. So look, here's an exercise. Just ask your child, who are the three people in your corner? One at home, one at school, and then one in an activity such as, obviously the studio or a sport or even church.
And then teach the skill of reaching out when you're stuck. Who do you ask? The resilient kid isn't the kid who never struggles. It's the kid who knows what to do when they are struggling.
Yes. Yes. So, we're going to keep, gratitude also in this episode, but not in a fluffy way. It's really training your brain to see reality clearly in my book. So, here's a simple, weekly check-in, if you will. And we've already talked about this, so you guys can do this for your family. Win, learn, and next. What went well this week? What did we win on this week? What did we learn? So what was hard? And then, what's next? Meaning, what do we have to, if we had a win and then we had to learn, and from that learn, what is next? What can we do next?
This keeps failure from becoming a label. Then it becomes, with this framework, it becomes a lesson, and lessons are useful.
Yeah, and I like that you use the word label, because that label infers the fact that it becomes an identity, and that's not what we want our kids to do, is to take on that identity of failure. To your point, it becomes a lesson. So parents, your kid is watching you. They're watching to see how you handle setbacks, how you talk about your setbacks. So pick a small yet, real example. Maybe it's a tough day at work, forgetting something, maybe you got corrected, maybe you made a mistake, and then narrate the next rep. Maybe you tell them, look, it didn't go how I wanted to, and here's what I'm going to do next time.
That's leadership. And that's how kids learn resilience is best through leadership.
So here's what it comes down to, in my opinion, is, resiliency isn't, it's not about never failing. It's about what next. So failure is feedback, not identity. And parents, you don't need a perfect kid. You need one who knows how to recover.
So here's your challenge this week. Step 1, pick a small goal with your kid. Step number 2, pick a daily rep. 2 or 10 minutes, somewhere in between there. Step number 3, pick a phrase that you're going to use after the setback. Maybe it's the next rep. That's what we've been talking about. Then track it for 7 days.
Yeah, and then don't forget, celebrate the effort. Celebrate the follow through. And when your child fails, which they're going to, right? They're going to fail. Don't panic. Run the loop. Name it, normalize it, narrow it, next rep, and then notice progress. So again, name it, normalize it, narrow it, next rep, and then notice the progress.
If today's episode hit home for you, share it with a parent who needs it. And if you're a parent with us here at TriStar, message us via the app and tell us what your goal is for the family this week. For everyone else, message us on Facebook or on Instagram.
Hey, thanks for listening to the TriStar podcast. Until next time, keep training, keep growing, and hey, keep taking that next rep.
Thanks for joining the TriStar podcast, where black belts begin at home. Connect with our community by visiting tristarkarate.com. Follow us on social media and share this episode with a family who's ready to grow stronger together. Until next time, stay focused, stay faithful, and keep training like a champion.